dialogue. It's, this is like an art house. Yeah, Eva is basically an art house film or an art film in the form of a TV show. It might not seem like it at first because you have giant robots, right? You don't have a bunch of French people eating bagels and whatever. You have
French people eating
or Germans, I guess that's probably.
Hey everybody, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Anime Summit Podcast, and I'm your favorite host, Sam the Bomb, and with me is Neon Genesis Nick Evangelion.
Sam, you're worthy of my grace.
Do you know why? Because I'm the shit. And only people who are worthy of graces, or your grace, can review Neon Genesis Evangelion. Boom.
Let's doing it. Although it's going to be more of a pitch than a review. We want to convince you. Imagine me as Uncle Sam pointing at you. We want you to watch Evangelion.
Nick Evangelion.
Now that it is on Netflix and legally available to stream. And also still on the high seas as well.
And if you're listening to this right now, it's also a special occasion because today is our birthday. We've been a podcast for 4 years, dog. We didn't want to.
We're almost in kindergarten, man. Almost
kindergarten. We kind of had a celebration with our 200th episode, so we kind of didn't want to do another one. Plus, it's 4 years. It's not 5. I think 5 is like a better.
Yeah, that's kindergarten,
dude. It's kindergarten, dude.
Unless you're like a genius.
But to celebrate, we're gonna do Evangelion. So that's how we're celebrating the ultimate Anime Summit duo, Sam Unit 59.
Yeah, what unit would
Nick
you? What Eva would you pilot?
69.
69. What unit are you in, Sam? 69. Nice. Gendo just has his hands over his face. Nice.
Nice. Yeah. Dude, no.
I'd be unit 420. Holla.
420 blaze it. I would, if it were like an actual Eva, I would probably do Unit 3. Because that's my favorite.
Unit 3? Is that the black one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one that Toji pilots?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yep, and they have the dummy plug in it also. Or they have the dummy system in it.
Dude, I just gotta go with the classic, Unit 1.
Unit 1, dude, is so...
Dude, it's so iconic. I just love it, I go with any of them, though, they're all cool. Even Ray's, like, basic-ass Evangelion.
If we were talking about the movies, the rebuild movies, I would do Unit 13, the dual cockpitted one, but...
Oh, yeah, we are just covering the TV series and
the
movie End of Evangelion.
Yes, not the rebuilds, because Nick is a elitist butt sniffer.
No, because those aren't on Netflix yet. This is basically timed after the Netflix release on June 21st.
We all know that you're a butt sniffer, Nick. It's fine.
Also, I haven't seen them yet.
It's because you don't want to watch them, because you're like...
No, I'm going to watch them. I'll watch them.
Don't taint the original, and I like to fart.
Let me sit on my ivory tower.
No, yeah, Nick's going to watch them. But, we're just covering the series in the End of Evangelion. But, dude, I'm excited, because we've talked about it for a long time. And me and Nick were always the ones who were like, "Oh my God, it's gonna be hype!"
Hell yeah, man!
Danny is like, Danny's seen Evangelion, but as you know, she's
Danny's not worthy of our grace right now. Okay,
dude, I'm telling you,
this episode is only for true stans of Evangelion.
I'm telling you, when she comes back, she's just gonna rip you apart the whole time. Every week is like,
well, much like Unit 1 ripped apart the Angel. All right.
Oh yeah, just much like
ripped apart Zuriel.
Zuriel. Satchel.
Basically every other angel.
Yeah, basically every other angel. Yo, I'm excited as fuck. So we're gonna get right into it, but before that, we're gonna take a quick break. Yeah, check that out for me, dog. That's exciting, right? Check that out for me. And as always, I'm just going to get through this. Links.animesummit.net, okay? Links.animesummit.net. Go there. Have fun. Really, though, I want to get to this. I got to say this real quick. Happy birthday, Anime Summit. It's been 4 years. It's fucking awesome. Thank you so much. And I want to give a shout out to the latest patron, Kat Kyoin. Kat Kyoin is their name on Patreon.
Is that
Thank
a
you
JoJo
so much.
reference?
I don't know.
It sounds like Cockqueen.
Yeah, it kind of does look like that, doesn't it? Yeah.
It might not be.
It might not be. But shout out to them for being late. They were actually a patron like a few weeks ago, and I was supposed to shout them out on last week's episode, and I forgot. But thank you so much for that pledge. And to the other 5 also, Senekit, Kenneth, G Helmet, Danny, and Cade. You guys are the boss. You guys, that's the fucking move right there. Becoming a patron.
Dude, shout outs every ep.
And
then starting in July, we're committing to it. Starting in July, we'll have patron perks.
Yeah, hell yeah. So like
mid-July, perhaps late July.
Things just got to calm down right now.
Yeah,
sure.
We've been pretty busy, so.
But I did write a letter, a 4 years Anime Summit letter that patrons can see right now, and then it'll become public on Thursday, and we'll tweet it out. Okay, it's just a quick letter saying thank you and sorry to the other homies, and shout out to Nick and Quokka and Danny and Mac and whoever else. So not as gushy and sentimental as last year when I wrote like 5 letters for each like host.
Dude, Sam, we're on an anime podcast. Don't say gush. That's a
sorry.
trigger warning. Have you seen the gush video?
Yeah.
Don't go to YouTube and don't type in gush gush. Trust me.
Don't do it.
For real,
But no, seriously, thank you. And shout out to the patrons. You guys are awesome. We're going to do some patron exclusive things. Like you guys can start having a hand in what we do for topics and what we do on the network and stuff like that. So it's going to be sick. Okay.
Much like Gendo and the end of Evangelion touching Rei.
Nick's just going to make all these like blind references. Like much like when Shinji.
You're Gendo.
Much like when Shinji pressed play it on his CD or tape Walkman thing.
Yeah. Tracks 25 to 26 over and over again.
25 to 26. Look,
it was, anyway.
let's so thank you guys so much. You guys are fucking awesome, okay? So yeah, thank you. Let's get right into it. Waifu and his bando. Waifu is Asuka Langley Soryu, the fiery redhead tsundere. Tsundere.
She is like
the pilot of
the tsundere. If you type in tsundere in Google, boom, Asuka.
In the dictionary, I'm pretty sure
She wasn't the first, but she is the most iconic
for
anime
sure.
tsundere.
The pilot of Unit 2, the second children or the third children, whatever they call it, in the Netflix one. And his bando is Shinji Ikari, the distant son of Gendo Ikari, and by distant I mean like their relationship is distant.
It's more of like an estranged. Is that the right word?
Estranged, the estranged son. Yeah, that's better. That's way better. Yeah, the estranged son of Shinji Ikari and the pilot of Unit 1, and the catalyst to many things towards the end. Pretty much throughout the whole fucking series, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Shinji is like the focal point of the show, but every character, all the main cast get a lot of development and inner dialogue as well. So, but mostly it's about Shinji.
Sure. All right.
Oh, here's my cue. Give me the Cruel Angels tea, sis. Dude, shout out to Twitter for giving me that joke. I never would have thought of that. That's fucking genius.
It's fucking funny, dude.
Shout out to Gayartu on Twitter. There we go.
Shout out.
So, okay. Let's start it out. What is Neon Genesis Evangelion? Why are we talking about it? June 21st, 2019, Netflix released Neon Genesis Evangelion TV series and the end of Evangelion to stream. Before that, the license was in limbo as far as streaming is concerned, and also like hard copy DVD Blu-rays in the States. You actually can't, as far as I'm aware, you can't even get an English Blu-ray with like subtitles and stuff. You just have to get the raw. Is that accurate? I think that is.
No, I think that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fan subbers, I'm sure, have subbed onto the Blu-ray. But in any case, we finally have a high-definition legal option to watch in the Western world of Neon Genesis Evangelion. And so, yeah, for a number of years, it wasn't available legally, so everyone had to be, you had to sail the high seas or fork over a lot of money for the Platinum Edition sets or older sets that were worse quality, and that's the only way you could watch it, really. Because nowadays, we got Crunchyroll, we got Hulu, we got all these streaming services, Netflix.
Yeah.
And that's how everyone watches stuff now. Physical media is kind of on the back burner a little bit for the most part.
For the longest time, actually. So I have the set I have is the black box with like Ava's face on the back of it.
Yeah.
And for a while, I actually had Nick's also. So I had two of them.
I think I gifted it to Sudi. I think Sudi still has it.
Oh yeah, Sudi's a bitch. But yeah, like I don't even think he likes. I think he likes Evangelion. I don't remember. But that's the version I have. I think my cousin Mario does have the platinum one, like the 2003
I have the platinum one. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's
of course,
like silver box.
Word of advice: don't lend it to random ass people, because mine has like a tear in the box now. It fucking sucks. But
yeah, actually, don't lend anything to Nick, because he'll hold it for 3 years. And
dude,
not
I still have
it.
your Nadesco VHS.
Dude, give it back. Give it back, or I'll cut you.
Yeah, dude, your Nadesco tapes are just they're just taped over with some masking tape that says sex positions on it.
God, get the fuck out of here.
Sex positions, 1987.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Hidden in the rafters.
Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. That's the box that I have. That's the only way I could consume it.
Oh, you have the other edition.
No, I have the black one. Yeah, the one, the ADV ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ADV is also dubbed and subbed the Platinum Edition, but it's like better quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like until now, Platinum Edition was basically just about the best you could get in illegal English options. So all the fans basically came from torrenting and streaming on other sites. So now we have the legal option with Netflix. However, there are some changes. We'll talk about those later, but basically, like, it looks fantastic. There's just some people have some issues with certain aspects of the script and the dub, but we'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. In any case, finally, everybody can watch this classic, this pillar of anime. This is like foundational in modern anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion. If you are an anime fan, you have to watch it. It's like Casablanca or Star Wars or The Godfather. It's like that level of importance, or Jurassic Park or whatever. Like it's a pillar. You have to see it. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but you have to see it.
I agree with that statement.
And I mean, you can even break up modern anime into multiple eras. It's like, well, I mean, basically, you can if you really want to simplify it, you can do pre-Ava and post-Ava. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff that came before Evangelion, obviously. A lot of classics before it, but, I mean, you got the 60s and 70s. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go ahead. But I was just saying, like, I would like to do, like, a whole topic on that, like, kind of like...
Yeah, like a brief history.
Break down what's the bronze, silver, because it's just like comic books, right?
Yeah,
like
comic
the
books.
Bronze Age, the Silver Age. It was.
I think
the
80s were like the golden age, probably, of anime. And then like the 90s Silver Age, something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it was like the death of Gwen Stacy that sparked the Silver Age of comic books.
Yeah.
Because no one had like died in a comic like that. It was crazy.
Yeah. So like you got the first couple of ages, like 60s and 70s. You got Astro Boy, you got Mazinger Z and all these giant robots, kid shows selling toys.
Doraemon, yeah.
You got the Tokusatsu stuff. Godzilla came before that, but there was more kaiju and Tokusatsu.
Gojira.
And then you get the 80s with like super glossy, expensive animation like Akira and all these OVAs that like basically bankrupted a bunch of studios. But it was like so impressive.
We should do a topic on that too. I'd love to.
Like Riding Bean was like the norm for 80s animation. Like that was insane.
Riding Bean.
Just like
awesome.
we're just talking about animation though.
Oh sure.
Yeah. And you had stuff that would never get made that's like not commercially viable, like Angel's Egg. Like I don't know how that got made even in the 80s. That's just unreal.
Just watching it's like, who did this?
There is literally no audience for that movie, but yet it's a masterpiece.
Except for me and Nick.
Yeah, at the same time it's a masterpiece. But yeah, so you had a lot of great stuff before that, and then the economic downturn, recession hit in the like late 80s, early 90s, and everything just kind of ground to a halt. You didn't have a whole lot coming out. And then finally in 1995, Evangelion came out, and it was like the first big original TV anime original that became like a massive success. Because before that, you had to have some kind of source material basing it off of a manga like Dragon Ball or Sailor Moon, and which those are great as well. But this was like a TV original, and really what it did is it like paved the way for more experimental TV shows to come out, like Serial Experiments Lane, Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah.
Crazy stuff like that.
Key to the Metal Idol and
there's a ton of stuff.
Armitage is another kind of weird sci-fi one.
A ton of stuff might have been too risky to make before Evangelion, but it really boosted the anime industry like by itself for a while. It's still huge. There's like trains. There's like bullet trains in Japan or whatever with Evangelion on them, and they have like a theme park and shit. They got whole stores for it.
I just talked about that on my newscast. There's that anime that's getting a film now, but it's like a kids anime, and it's actual bullet trains in Japan that turn into big robots and they fight like the bad guys and shit. Yeah, but one of them is like an Ava bullet train robot, which is hilarious. But like that's how huge it is.
Yeah, so
I mean, he's like Hello Kitty
commercial success. I mean, for TV original anime, it's obviously not on the level of Dragon Ball or Pokemon. Pokemon is like the biggest single media property. Like that's including Western properties, I think, which is like
sure,
nuts.
Yeah.
Pokemon is just massive. It's like Pokemon, and then like it beats Star Wars. Like that's how big Pokemon is. But
right.
I mean, Evangelion, as far as was concerned, like it led to a new age of like creativity and a little bit more freedom in anime. Going a little bit, they tried to recapture some of the 80s level of freedom, but they didn't have the budget for it. But in any case,
it wasn't like they raised the bar like higher. They did, but not like super high. They just raised it up a little bit, but made it more wider for more people to go under. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know what you mean, Sam, because they raised the bar to an impossible level.
Well, they definitely did. But I mean, that like you were saying is like it gave other creators more like.
Yeah, because they could point to Evangelion. Well, they could like point to the producers and be like, "Oh, look at Evangelion, that was a success. Let me make Serial Experiments Lane or whatever."
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But it made the thing wider for more people to go under.
Yeah,
That's what I meant. Yeah,
and so especially for like late night TV anime, that Evangelion like really caused a boom in the late night anime because a lot of times before that you'd have the the Sazai-san, the long running shows were really the bread and butter until then. So yeah, you got a lot more creative after that. And then like so after Ava's, including the the ability to make more shows, it also influenced the shows themselves. So you have like direct influences like Darling in the Franxx, you have Razafan, you have a whole number of like other mecha shows that all kind of, not all but many of them pay homage to it, and then many other shows have snippets like Plastic Memories has a scene that's like shot for shot, even an Evangelion scene. So does Classroom Crisis. There's like a lot of shows that riff off and spoof it, and they'll have a character. You can like almost every single season there's a show with a Rei Ayanami and Asuka character clone, where it's like you got the blue-haired girl and you got the red-haired girl.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's from Evangelion. You see the blue-haired girl and the red-haired girl. That's from Evangelion. That's what they're copying. It's crazy. And any kind of like quote-unquote wimpy protagonist is like a Shinji clone, even though they don't do those very often nowadays. A lot of them are like Kirito clones now. So,
right. Well, I would say Midoriya is kind of like that, but he's really not.
Oh yeah, Midoriya is actually kind of like a Shinji
in terms of like anxiety and anxiousness.
That's actually a really good example. I didn't even think of that.
He's definitely a little bit more brave and more willing to like, But that's also another flaw of his is that he thinks before.
Yeah.
Or he does before he thinks. But anyway, yeah. They don't really do that anymore that much.
He's soft-spoken like Shinji.
Soft-spoken.
But yeah, so you have a lot of these influences, not to mention like scenes, like even outside of anime, like Invader Zim had a scene where they're running, the Evangelion run as it turns the corner and runs straight at you. They'd done that. There's a ton of them, like a 1 hour photo with Robin Williams. He was a huge Evangelion fan. although he pronounced it wrong in the movie. I don't know if he was trolling us or what, but
No, I think that's actually how he thought it was pronounced.
Well,
but yeah, he was actually
yeah,
a big.
yeah.
I mean, as
a
we
lot
said
of
on this
people
podcast
pronounce
before,
it wrong. Like evangelical is the English word, evangelize, that type of thing, and so people think it's Evangelion. But in the dub, in every single version of the dub, and even in the show, they pronounce it Evangelion.
Right.
So that's the correct way to say it. If you say Evangelion, you're a slob.
Peanut butter Evangeli.
Yeah. No. But yeah, so basically it had, this show has a really far-reaching influence, and it also pulls a lot of influence from the past, where you have the direct things that influenced it, inspired it, were you had Devilman, Space Runaway Ideon, Mobile Suit Gundam, Ultraman, kaiju shows like Godzilla, and then you had a couple Western things, Andromeda Strain and Space Odyssey. So you had a whole bunch of stuff that influenced Evangelion, and that's kind of, this is just giving you a little bit of background on it. So the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion was a guy named Hideaki Anno. He was kind of a second generation otaku. He was a guy who grew up in the 70s and 80s, key animator for Macross and Nausicaa after he was noticed, because he basically got kicked out of college for not paying his tuition because he was such like a rebel that he didn't want to do things the normal way. And because he was so obsessed with animation, so he dropped out of college to animate Daikon 3 and Daikon 4, which are these animated shorts with some. They took what song was that? It's not radio. It's they took a Western song that they didn't get the rights for, so like they can't actually release Daikon 4 because they don't have the rights for the song. But Mother's Basement did a really good video on this. That's really like emotional. Like I was like tearing up a little bit watching it, because Daikon 4 is Hideaki Anno and other staff that eventually formed Studio Gainax. They did Daikon, and this was a short that had just incredible animation, and it borrowed properties and characters from all over, from like the West, from comics, from Japan, and they were just like running around doing crazy shit. And like it's really, really well animated for considering it was just done by a bunch of guys like in a garage basically. Or the
they was trying to like do fucking paint cells on the fucking floor.
Yeah, they're doing it on the floor
with with like a fucking camera above it, and then they were just snapping.
Yeah,
every
they were
frame.
just such fanatics that they made it happen, and it still looks really good today. And that Daikon influenced Gainax as a whole, really. Like I think fully like I don't know where the Playboy bunny outfit is, like what she was wearing basically, and that's like a moment of contention with like some licensing or copyright type stuff. I don't know how, because it's just a bunny suit, but in any case, so you had Daikon, which led to him meeting, or Hayao Miyazaki was the one who brought in Hideaki Anno to help animate on Nausicaa. Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind. That's like the pre-Ghibli movie, which is it's basically Ghibli, but it's not technically under that studio name. So yeah, Hideaki Anno, he's a really good animator. He also did work on Macross. And after that he formed Studio Gainax with a bunch of his fellow otaku, and so Studio Gainax was just this really, it was like the first of its kind basically as far as anime studios, because it was just formed by essentially like fans, like fanatics. And like the old studios like Toei, right? You had Toei. I think Madhouse was pretty old as well. You had these big studios.
Tatsunoko was another big one that was old. Yeah.
And you had to go through all this like red tape and business bullshit to to get a studio. And Gainax just formed because they were that dedicated and that good. And so they made a number of actually classic OVAs movies. They did Wings of Haname. I can never pronounce this. Royal Space Force Wings of Honiames. They did Top Nori Gunbuster, which we did a review on. They also did Otaku no Video, Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. And those were all before Evangelion in the the mid-late 80s, early 90s. And this was, still when Japan was in their kind of their economic bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the the prehistory to Evangelion. And then what happened is Hideaki Anno eventually fell into like this big depression after Nadia and after like a failed Honiame's. I think they were trying to make a sequel or like a redo of it. Not redo, like a sequel, I think. And so he fell into this big depression. Like he didn't know what to do, where to go, like where is he going with his life and everything. This was in the early 90s. And then eventually he decided to start work on a new script for a show, new storyboards. And this was Evangelion. And he basically, like in his words, he wanted to burn his feelings of depression into film. And that's what Evangelion is. So this is kind of where it's all coming from. And most anime are not, they're very, what's the word? Like, they're very corporate and very just trying to sell you some toys and merchandise, you know. They're just trying to churn it out, right?
That's how it was for America too, you know, with
yeah,
Ninja
most
Turtles
media
and
is
Street
like
Sharks
that.
And
just trying to churn a new thing out.
Transformers, yeah.
And, you know, of course, creators do have passion, but, like, they're oftentimes held back by a bunch of red tape and producers telling them what to do and everything. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Evangelion was born out of Hideaki Anno's, like, mental state, basically. So he and Studio Gainax, like, they went to work creating it. 1995 came out, huge success. And then we go from there. Like we can describe basically what it is at this point. This is like a kind of a big background there. I guess we should also mention the staff of Evangelion. They had a really crazy like all-star staff with. So you had Hideaki Anno, you had Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, Hiroyuki Imaishi, Yo-Yo Shinari, Shiro Sagisu as the music, and then you also had other names just in there helping out like Junichi Sato, Mahiro Maeda, Hiroshi Kato. Like you had all these super talented people working on this one show, and it turned out to be a classic, and in my opinion, a masterpiece. And that's just all what went into Evangelion. I'm just kind of giving the spiel here. So I've been talking for a while. Sam, do you wanna like give any other input or any kind of cool anecdotes or?
No, you covered it.
Like
I was gonna interject, but you covered basically this shit I was gonna say. Like, I mean, I think that's a good segue though. It was the last thing you said was, he wanted to burn his feelings into the show, and that's really like, I mean, like, you know, it has the mecha tag right on Mal and whatever else, wherever other info you may find. But it really is all of that, those things, and like the angels and the Avas and Nerve and all that is that setting is secondary to like what it really is about. And it's really about those kinds of struggles and the relationships we have with other humans and things like that. And most of that can be summarized with like Shinji's story by itself. But we also get treated to like Rei's story and who she really is, you know, Asuka, and like wanting to be recognized all the time instead of like she needs the validation instead of just believing in herself, you know, which is also can be a big issue for.
Oh, you're going straight
anyone.
into the themes.
I guess no. Sorry,
I
just
should give
wanted
like
to say,
just a real quick elevator
yeah,
pitch.
Sorry. I just wanted to say that like that it's mostly about that, and like the Avas and cool robot shit is awesome, and it makes it way better. But,
oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, don't let the mecha fool you. This is not Gundam. You don't have like Tomino just writing a bunch of crazy nonsensical dialogue. It's, you know, this is like an art house. Yeah, Eva is basically an art house film or an art film in the form of a TV show. It might not seem like it at first because you have giant robots, right? You don't have a bunch of French people eating bagels and whatever. You have
French people eating
or Germans, I guess. That's probably because German had a lot of art house stuff way back when. But like, this is a very aesthetically unique and powerful show with very strong directing and like a sense of where it wants to be in every single scene, which a lot of media and especially anime don't have. That's why I call it art house or like an art film, because everything is meticulously planned. Even when they had production, timing issues, and like it wasn't so much like a low budget. This is kind of a tangent, but like everyone says that Evangelion had a low budget at the end. They didn't have a low budget. If anything, they even had a above average budget, if anything. But later on in the production, they were time crunched, so that caused them to get creative and actually make the show even better in some ways. You might not have had, the perfect openings episodes of the show in the later episodes, but what you got was something that was great. Creativity is born from limitations, right?
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. Mm-hmm.
So that's where this show comes from. And you got to realize it's a TV show. It's not a Ghibli movie. You're not going to have Spirited Away level animation every minute of the film or of the TV show. That's just not how it works. Yeah, Evangelion is an art. It is just like a piece of art, really. That's what it is. I don't want to like mince words about it. It's not just a giant robot show. It's not just a bunch of people. It's not what it seems at first.
Right. Yeah. Like it has those tags, but like, if anything, it's more of like a psychological drama kind of.
Yeah, psychological. There we go. That's a great way to describe it. I think that's actually a tag.
But to just like go over the synopsis real quick, it takes place in. I mean, it's kind of funny to hear it now, but like it takes place in 2015. Yeah, the distant future of 2015. 15 years after a global cataclysm known as Second Impact, Shinji Ikari is summoned to the futuristic city of Tokyo 3 by his estranged father, Gendo Ikari, director of the Special Paramilitary Force NERV. Shinji witnesses United Nations forces battling an angel, which I think is Sachiel.
Yeah, Sachiel is it's the first angel we see, but it's technically the third one.
Mm-hmm. One of a race of giant monstrous beings whose awakening was foretold by the Dead Sea Scrolls. Yeah, and all of that, okay. All of the lore and techno babble and mumbo jumbo about angels, Dead Sea Scrolls, Sele, NERV, all this stuff is not that important. Like Sam, you mentioned that earlier. It's just window dressing. It's just aesthetics, right? It mostly has to do with it does fit together. It does make sense. It's coherent, but it mostly has to do with the way the story ends more than and how it builds up to that ending. Because Neon Genesis Evangelion, it literally translates to like the new beginning. It's like dawn of a new age or something. Yeah, the good news of the new century or something, or the gospel of the new century. It translates to "You're worthy of my grace." You're worthy of my grace. Yeah. So like, I mean, yeah, it does have a ton of Kabbalah, Christianity, and Judaism. Symbolism, but we're not going to dive into those. If you want to know more about that, we can link in the show notes. If you search for Wisecrack Evangelion on YouTube, they did a 20-minute video about the symbolism of it. He breaks it down really quick and easy. Actually, that's kind of what they do. But that video is not a fan video. That video does not describe why Evangelion is good. If that makes sense. Yeah, he's just breaking down. It describes the what, not the why. If that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, we're not going to dive into that too much. I just want to talk about the show itself. Yeah, and we'll give shout outs to other videos too. Like, there's a lot of Evangelion content. Like Ava Geeks has been going on for many, many years. Right. But obviously, tons of stuff. Keep those things in mind as we talk about certain things later down the line. But yeah. That's basically it. And Shinji is summoned to NERV to pilot. Tokyo 3 is under attack by angels. Yes, by angels. And humanity has to defend itself with Evangelion. These are giant robots. And they only can be piloted by 14-year-old children. Which is itself kind of a spoof on Gundam and older robot shows. Yeah. It's just like an anime trope convention. A lot of it was like Anno wanted to kind of point that out and subvert a lot of those tropes, right? And it makes sense in the story because like they're the children are the only ones who can synchronize with the Avas and have them accept and able to pilot it. So an adult wouldn't be able to pilot it.
And this is very common in anime. Most anime takes place with teenagers, so they need an excuse for that. But
basically, yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they're defending Tokyo 3 from the Angels. At the end of the day, it's like a coming-of-age story. It's a story about finding your self-identity and self-worth and letting go of, like, self-hatred and all this stuff. It's about people connecting to each other and, getting over their hang-ups and depression. And in the ADV dub, Shinji says, "I mustn't run away." That's a big theme of it. And Hideaki Anno said that to himself. He's like, he wanted to make a story about not running away because he felt like he was running away, after Nadia.
Yeah.
Because he literally did. Like, during the production of Nadia, he left for a number of episodes. And it actually really hurt that production. So, yeah, that's like the core of it, is like the psyches of all these characters, especially Shinji, but, all the main ones. The robots, the Evangelions and the Angels, the world building is all well and good. It's actually really well done. We can talk about, like, the initial exposition of the first episode.
And it's more, but then at the end of the day, it's more so.
It's a metaphor
about how Shinji gets over these cataclysmic things and how he's you
have this like apocryphal imagery. You have these eldritch horrors attacking, but it's all a metaphor for psychology, for yourself, getting over hang-ups and like being able to live in the world. That's what it is, if you think about it. It's not stated directly in the show. This is my take on it. But think about it.
No, but I agree with that.
It makes a lot of sense. Like it perfectly fits in, right? They're piloting the Angels, or not the Angels, they're piloting the Evangelions. And the symbolism there is it's obvious when you think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we want to get into, do you have another like thing you wanted to mention really quick before we get into more?
No, I think I'm good. I didn't want to get too much into the summary too much.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like a...
I kind of rolled over you there for a minute.
No, it's perfect. Because, like, you know what? The Evangelion's a monster. There's not really a good way to attack this unless we, But, like, it's our favorite anime. It's my favorite. Like, I often talk about...
Hell yeah, it's mine too, dude. It's number one. Look, I'm not going to apologize about it either. Like, look, a lot of people, like, timidly say that they like Evangelion. They're like, well, sorry, but I like Evangelion. No. Fuck that. This is going to piss people off when I say this, but this is the best TV anime ever made. Period. That's my personal opinion, but it doesn't get better. You can have stuff.
I feel
that's
like if I think about it, I could
as
fight
good
you on
in
it.
different ways. Well, yeah. The thing is,
but I don't think I can.
That's an absurd statement to make for the first thing, because like you can't compare this across genres to like a comedy or historical, different types of shows, right?
Sure.
It's not fair to compare it to Nichijou or whatever. I'm making throw something in there. But as far as like how well it's crafted and the themes of it, like the depth of it, the breadth of it, like the world building, the characters, like just like the raw emotional appeal to it, it doesn't, nothing really beats it in terms of like overall quality. Mm-hmm. There's different shows that might have one aspect that's better, or maybe even two, but like overall, like this is, it has the most points for me. So,
I agree with you. I'm with you on that. I don't know if I can fight you on it, to be honest. Like,
you don't have to agree. I mean, you can have a different favorite show. That's perfectly fine.
But I don't got the time to think about it right now, because I'm just gonna keep going back to like that one scene where this happened and that was amazing, and
I mean, and don't get me wrong. There's other anime that are really great, and Evangelion is not perfect. There are some flaws, right? It's not a perfect show. Just because I'm saying it's the best, it's not perfect. But
right.
If you call yourself an anime fan, you have to watch it. And actually, even if you're a fan of just cinema, you have to watch it because it's so well directed. Like the directing is really, underappreciated sometimes of the show. Like if you look at this, let's talk about the first few episodes, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
They're like pitch perfect. If you watch those, I think this has the best first episode in any anime that I've ever seen. Like it's so good. You don't even think about it because like your favorite anime, you're like, yeah, it's my favorite, but let's talk each episode. How do those fit? But like as far as the first episode goes, we can point to, there's some YouTube videos. Digibro actually made 10 killer cuts in Evangelion episode 1. He goes through a couple of episodes showing,
it's a good video,
how the directing informs the narrative and the world building of the characters. And episode 1 is just like an absolute classic. Like it perfectly brings you in. There's no exposition dumps, info dumps, nothing like that. It's just,
and some of those scenes too in that first
instantaneous.
episode are reminiscent of some Godzilla scenes too, of like some
Yeah,
of the
absolutely.
original movies.
And actually,
to show kind of the vast space that there is to work with in the area that the action's in.
well, they're showing the setting, right? The city, and you get a sense of place. Like like we talked about in Spirited Away, you have a sense of place in this world because you know where things are. Basically, there's like maps. There's just wide shots of things. And
you could build a fucking model and a map out of it.
Yeah, and for a lot of shows, you can't really do that. But
no, you can't.
For this one, even from episode 1, you get that, and you get a sense, you get like this weight and gravity of like this giant monster is attacking the city, and every time it moves, it's just like this huge, shockwave or explosion, and it really feels heavy every time it happens, right? A lot of shows don't feel it. A lot of shows are really floaty, like they don't animate it as well, but based on the all-star staff of the show, they were able to create that. Especially, I mean, even the Netflix version looks phenomenal. Like they took the best possible, like appearance and animation, and they touched it up and everything, and it looks great. So watch the first episode, and it'll hook you in. It's so good. And like the scene with Shinji on the bridge with the light turns on and Ava is right there, or Unit 1 is right there. It's just like this ominous, scary looking robot, right? And Shinji he screams when he first sees it.
That scene is particularly important because then it gives you a sense of size and the scale of what they're dealing with.
These are super robots, basically. They're not like, there's different categories of mecha, right? You got the super robots. You have the super duper robots like Gunbuster and Gurren Lagann. Those are even bigger, but like this is like skyscraper size, basically. That's how big the Evangelions are. It's size of skyscraper.
Yeah.
They're not Mobile Suit Gundam. I think Gundams are smaller than this.
They are.
And then you have like power armor. That's like personal thing. That's not technically. But anyway, are they as big as a Titan? Evangelions, like it's from
that depends on the Titan because there's different sized Titans.
Oh yeah, there's different sized Titans. Shout out to another great mech
I remember
show,
seeing
Titan.
Yeah, I remember seeing a size chart thing that somebody made based on like data that's given on
They're pretty big. They're up there actually.
They're huge. Yeah, Avas are pretty huge. There's things that are bigger than it, obviously, but
yeah, and unlike a lot of super robot shows, these aren't like all powerful, invincible. Beat every bad guy with one punch, with one rocket punch or whatever. They
rocket justice punch go.
Yeah, they're actually plugged in with a giant cord, basically like a giant electrical cord, and because they require so much power. Like you really get a sense of how massive these are. I
believe in some iterations they call that cord the umbilical cord.
Yeah,
also,
basically it is, but it's plugged into their back. But yeah, so.
Yeah.
They actually have to, in one episode, they have to sap the entire power of Japan just to fire a giant rifle to kill one of the angels. But like that's just awesome. To give you the scale of it, right? So and every time they run, it's like these massive stomps. It like destroys concrete. You see, collapsing debris and everything, and it's it's really really well animated. And then you get these iconic shots like episode 1, where I think this is even before like Shinji is introduced. You have Sachiel is that angel that's attacking it. It's a really recognizable angel. You'll know it when you see it. I think it actually has some of the most merchandise too. But like it comes in and it's like floating. It's like it's creepily floating a little bit. And you get all these military these military factions, organizations shooting at it with tanks, with helicopters, with giant missiles. At one point, a huge missile fires at it. Satchel just sticks out its arm and just fucking splits it in half. And
he puts his fingers on it and splits it in 4 pieces.
Yeah, but it just stiff arms a missile basically.
Yeah, down the missile mine.
If you watch AMVs, you'll see that in AMVs. It's really really cool. It sticks in your mind.
His muscles flex a little bit, and then it just breaks into 3 or 4 pieces.
Yeah, these are actually almost more biological than mechanical. Like the angels and the Avas, especially like all of them. They have armor and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, they have an armor and the to keep their mouths closed. They have a jaw brace.
Yeah, but you can still pilot them like as if they were a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
when
they're attacking.
When the souls are synced up.
And yeah, it's like this. It's just really, really well shot, and the world building is again, it's just perfect. Like the way it's handled in those first 6 episodes, really. Actually, it's
another
10,
reason why their children is the reason why they can pilot Ava's the best is because of the kind of programming that's in like the system, and they're meant to be. The child is meant to be like a child in the womb, and the Ava's meant to be.
Yeah, that's a symbolism. I think the Wisecrack video goes in on that, and a lot of people.
The Wisecrack video does go into that, yeah. But I just thought that's a cool thing,
and that's becomes
the reason why it has to be children.
It becomes very overt later in the series too. Like I don't want to spoil exactly like specific plot points. We can give general spoilers, but I want people to watch it, right? I don't want to just be like, oh, this happens or whatever. This character dies or whatever,
sure.
Or
for sure. My thing is
twist,
people watching it and then watching it a second time and see what they miss, because that's like.
Dude, I watched it like half a dozen times already.
I've seen it definitely half a dozen times, and sometimes I still find myself.
It gets better.
Seeing little things.
Like it literally gets better the more you watch it.
It really does. I'm not even gonna like. Because I know some listeners out there are gonna be like, "Oh, Sam and Nick are just agreeing on everything again," but it's like it's Evangelion, man. Like I don't know how to say it,
dude,
but
I don't understand how people don't see the greatness of this show. I don't get it. Like that's just irredeemable to me if you can't see how good this is. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but like if you can't even admit that it's great, then man, I don't know what to tell you. That's some crazy pose right there.
Also, the typical thing too is like one of the typical things about Ava that people have, especially with people who haven't seen it because they don't want to feel left out or whatever, is they'll say that "get in the robot" Shinji joke.
Yeah, get in the robot Shinji, because the joke is that Shinji is a pussy, that he's a wimp, right? He's not a power fantasy Kirito, super duper powerful, no flaws guy,
Right, and it's just like. Like, because like his dad calls him there, and that's part of the first episode. Too is his dad when he gets called there, and he's like, "Well, if you're not gonna get in it, then we're just gonna have Rei get in it." And Rei comes out like on a stretcher, and she's already like,
yeah, that scene is so good, man. They're on the bridge, man, and Gendo's standing above them, and like the light, the TV static is reflecting off his glasses, and you see Shinji's face in all the screens, right? This is why it's an art house production, right? Because it's like these scenes are so well directed and crafted. Like you can't just make that on a whim. It was
put together. Yeah, it was put together very carefully.
Every shot is meticulous. It's not just back and forths. It's not just a flat shot from here to there. It's very creative.
Yeah, there's a reason why the camera angle and the background is the way it is, where the character is standing at a particular spot. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why it is the way it is. It's really fucking cool.
And what's really cool is that actually helps them on their budget too, because they can carefully place characters artfully around the screen and have like the background perfectly fit, and then they don't actually have to animate as much except in the battles, that type of thing. And they still do animate. They still, especially the Netflix version, it still looks very, very good. This looks better. If you watch this on Netflix, it looks better than modern anime, period.
That's a bold statement, Cotton.
Well, this is you got to realize, though, this is the touched-up version. This isn't actually the stuff that aired in TV in 1995. It
does look really nice, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's when Misato goes and picks up Shinji in episode 1 in the beginning, and she's, like, backing out. It's, like, speeding, backing out. It looks so good. Like, it's just...
Yeah, if you did that nowadays, it'd be like a CG car. It'd be, like, fucking clunky and...
It's like all the dirt is like flying off her car that fell on it.
Yeah, really and Evangelion still, it was a cell animated show, right? So a lot of people are going to be turned off by that. It doesn't have the super ultra bright colors, of the stuff nowadays. Not everything is digitally animated, but there's a charm to the cell animation, and this legitimately is, as far as TV cell animation, this is just about the peak, right? Because about 5 to 7 to 8 years after this is when everything went digital. So this was like really the end of that, near the end of the cell animation era. And so they've really, and you know, you have these gods of animation like Yo-Yo Shinari and Hiroyuki Imaishi and Hideaki Anno like animating this. It's just like, it's so good. But yeah, like those first episodes will draw you in. It's very well done. Do we want to get into like the kind of like the arcs and the themes, just like as a broad stroke?
Yeah.
Talk about the movie end of Evangelion, a couple of the controversies.
Yeah, so why don't you like run down the last 2 episodes real quick, and then we can...
Okay, so the show goes on. It starts out, you have sort of like a Monster of the Week format a little bit, but it's not quite. It is different from that right away, especially like you'll watch episode 4, right? And I think Hideaki Anno, he got, I don't remember who it was. I looked it up. I couldn't find it again, but he got another staff member to help him create episode 4 and like direct it. I forgot who it was. Someone's screaming at their screaming at the podcast right now. They know who it is. But episode 4, you can really tell it's very like bizarre and slow. That's the hedgehog's dilemma, I believe. That's where Shinji's running away.
Yep.
And that's when you really know this is definitely not just another, you know, robot, you know, Monster of the Week type of show. And so the show goes on, and the first half you introduce Rei, you introduce Misato, Asuka comes in later, and you fight various angels basically once an episode. And at a certain point, you get to this, you get to a turning point, right, where Shinji is swallowed up by one of the angels, and he has to confront his psyche inside of the Eva. And I won't spoil exactly what happens, but it's very symbolic and very moody too. Like the music to that perfectly fits it. We didn't mention the music, but this has a really great soundtrack. Probably one of the best in anime. And Shinji, you know, there's a lot of like symbolism in the train. So like Shinji's sitting on a train. There's red lighting. It's like his own personal hell, his own purgatory. It's
because the color palette is that way too.
Yeah,
like it's red.
You got like
dark,
these fisheye lenses on his eyeballs, and like different characters are flashing in his mind, and it's like this really trippy sequence. And if you watch it, you know, if you watched it on drugs, you'd be like, wow, that's nuts. So like, you know, you get to this point and it just gets nuts. Like the show, like everything starts breaking down. All the characters are going through all this trauma. Like each and every one of them is just getting the shit kicked out of them, like mentally and physically, right? The angels get progressively stronger and stronger, and they get closer and closer to their goal. Because basically the angels' goal is to get to, what's it called? Adam, which is like the original angel. They're getting to like this black moon. They're trying to start anher third impact, right? They're trying to
they're trying to get to Lilith, in Terminal Dogma.
Yeah, and restart the world. That's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
They start another apocalypse. Yeah. So Terminal Dogma and Nerve. That's what they're covering. You know, they have this huge fortress. This is another cool part of the world building is Tokyo 3. The buildings are basically there for the Evas to use. Like you have a giant gun that's like a skyscraper has a giant rifle inside of it, and it just pulls it out and shoots it. The buildings go upside down though. So like, you know, Nerve is underground. Tokyo 3, the buildings, they, you know, at nighttime or if they're, you know, under attack, they can sink the buildings underneath the ground, and you know, to protect from the angel attacks. And that's really cool. Like the setting is just very memorable. So, you know, the angels get progressively stronger. Everyone's getting more fucked up, more psychological damage. At certain points, like all these characters are just like can barely even function. And you know, not only, you know, to fight the angels, but with themselves and each other. And it's very like visceral and raw and emotional, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get Ritsuko's story with her mom. Like everyone has very like crazy parent issues. Shinji has his dad issue, and even arguably an Oedipal complex. And then, you know, Asuka, she saw her mom die and kill herself. Misato has a dad issue. You know, Ritsuko has her mother issue as well. It's crazy, but it's not like in your face too. The way they handle it is it's just very well done. So you get to a point where it's just like the shit is hitting the fan. The angels are getting closer and closer. Finally, you get to these last few episodes, right? You meet. I guess I don't want to spoil exactly what happens, but Shinji meets a character, right? And he thinks that this character is everything, and he thinks this character is finally, you know, opening up Shinji's eyes that like Shinji is worthy of love, right? And we get into the Netflix translation later. And Shinji starts to see that he has value, right? And then it turns out that, I don't want to spoil exactly what happens, but it turns out there's another angel attack in the midst of this. And shit really hits the fan. Shinji just goes nuts. Like, he has to do something he doesn't want to do. And then the last two episodes happen, right? So the last two episodes of the TV series were very controversial. A lot of the fans hated them. They sent death threats to Hideaki Anno. They just
spray painted it on the studio.
Yeah, and they used that footage in the End of Evangelion movie. They used some of that, like some of the letters, I think.
Yeah.
So the ending of the series is, it all takes place in Shinji's mind. You get this huge climactic battle, episode 24. And, it ends like really cool. There's like a Beethoven symphony playing. There's like this still shot that's super famous with the Eva with an outstretched arm. And you have, God, dude, do you have any idea how much that frame would cost? If you tried to buy that, like the sell of that? Holy shit. I want to know now. That's probably like super expensive. But anyway, they so it's taking place in Shinji's mind. Human instrumentality is happening, which, do you want to explain human instrumentality? It's kind of complicated, but it's sort of really, like the Book of Revelations or like another apocalypse, sort of like they're...
It basically is the plan to rebirth the world, and by turning into, the way they do it is by activating an impact or third impact.
Yeah, and humanity's consciousness all melds together in like a primordial soup.
Yeah, because like reborn. So from the Big Bang Theory or whatever is that we all kind of came from cells that evolved from primordial soup is what they call it.
Yeah,
and basically the plan is to turn everyone back into that, and then
that's the plan. Yeah. And this is actually kind of hinted at and said earlier on in the show, like that's Gendo's plan is instrumentality, and Seele is instrumentality. That's what they want. So, well, it's part of Gendo's goal. His other goal is to get back together with his dead wife, which she plays an integral role in the story. I don't want to spoil exactly how, but Shinji is often, he's often like conversing with her in his mind, right? And it's really cool how that's handled. So, human instrumentality is happening, and Shinji's in his own head, right? Thinking of all that he's seen and learned and done, and all these characters' interactions with him, and how to communicate, how to exist in this world. And that's basically what those episodes are. It just takes place like that. It's not a battle climax. It doesn't resolve a lot of like the plot threads and the character arcs. So that's why people don't like it. But with that combined with the End of Evangelion does resolve most of the arcs and everything and the threads, although rebuilds are doing a little more. In any case, the last two episodes are essential, and they are really good if you look at it from the perspective of just, this is Shinji's climax, right? He's like learning how to be a human and how to like live, right? So he's coming to terms with all this stuff. And then there's a lot of memes from this too. At the end, where there's the congratulations. That's a meme that comes from this. I don't want to say how it happens, but yeah, it's actually kind of like emotional at the end too. If you think about it, like all these characters are learning everything about themselves.
It definitely is. 100% is.
Yeah. So like people were mad about
it's kind of wrapping up like the characters' internal struggles, and then Shinji's kind of like the last one to do it. And, yeah. And so you get those two episodes. Anno gets really mad and it goes into like another mini depression, I think. And then he makes End of Eva. And the End of Evangelion movie is kind of it's almost meta, because it's kind of a big fuck you to fandom, otaku, to the world basically, because it's a really angry movie, right? Because you have the plot threads resolve in End of Eva, and it's really complicated. It's hard to explain almost, but it's like Seele, and maybe you can explain it better than I could. I'm trying to get the plot is the plot of End of Eva.
Just like a very broad idea.
I mean, yeah. So the basically the shadowy committee Seele that Gendo works with, they were intending to use Nerve the whole entire time to execute the human instrumentality project. and because of all the stalling that Gendo was doing and all this other stuff that went wrong, Asuka's in a coma and things like that from a previous episode. They decide to dispatch the Japanese Strategic Self-Defense Force to seize control of NERV, basically killing everyone on sight. And it's actually really kind of hard to watch.
It's Third Impact,
that part
right?
of it.
That's what this is.
Yes,
it's Third Impact.
Yes, yeah. The end of Evangelion is in short basically Third Impact. The way it goes down though is not how Gendo and Seele intended it to go down, but it goes down nonetheless.
Yeah. And I don't want to spoil especially the second half of the movie, because the first half is pretty cut and dry. Like, they're getting infiltrated. The what are the white angels called again? Or they're like
mass production model.
Mass production models.
So there's this
they
thing
descend
that
upon Asuka and like try to kill her.
There's this thing that NERV created called the dummy plug or the dummy system, and it is to activate should a pilot not be able to perform their duties as the pilot. So these mass production Evas there's 9 of them. They basically all use that system. They don't need to be piloted. They have one goal in mind, and that goal is to help trigger and start human instrumentality along with the fusion of Adam and Lilith.
So they're trying to start human instrumentality, Third Impact. You have Gendo and Rei. Gendo's trying to trigger Rei. I don't want to. The thing is, I don't want to spoil exactly what happens.
It's really you really don't want to.
Yeah, it's really cool if you see it, especially without the spoilers. But even if you know what's happening, it's still really cool, and you can discover like like what Gendo was after. He wanted to reunite with his dead wife. You get Misato's last scene with Shinji. You get Asuka battling for her life. She's just like going nuts and going berserk. Really cool battle scene with her. You get Shinji just going nuts. And then like more stuff's happening, like flashing images. You get real life images too. You get it's just like it's crazy.
It is. It's a trip. It's an experience, I would say, almost.
And then you get this very iconic song that plays when Third Impact happens, and like this really iconic imagery if you've seen Devilman, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, there's a couple of shows that kind of borrow from this, although the Evangelion borrowed from Devilman, which borrowed from Eva. Anyway, it's a very memorable scene that sticks in your head when Third Impact happens. It's really cool. And it wraps up like all the arcs, and then Shinji has to decide, does he want to live in this world or does he want to reject it, right? And in the TV series, I think he decided to live, right? Mm-hmm. And in End of Evangelion, he decided to reject it, but then he also decided to live, and you're not quite sure. You get like these different scenarios, like these different almost dream sequences with Shinji deciding, right? Because he's up there with Unit 1 doing crazy shit. And it's very complicated. There's a part with Asuka where Shinji's like choking her, and the question is like what really happened, and how do these characters actualize what they wanted to do in life. Did Shinji want to live or what? Like it's the way it's handled is really cool. So there are a lot of videos on YouTube that describe all this in detail. We've already kind of got lost in the weeds a little bit. So we can link some in the show notes. I'll link a couple. I think Goat Jesus did a pretty good one.
Under the Scope is a good one.
Under the Scope.
He did a Why I Love Evangelion. And
Mr. Cynical does a very good one. Digibro does like some directing ones. You get the Eva Analysis Project that actually describes exactly what's happening in the lore, just so you can understand what's going on. Yeah. But as far as like the themes, like I think Mr. Cynical's video is really good describing the themes, like what these characters are going through and like what's going on, right? The first maybe half of the video they posted really goes into that. So I would suggest checking those out. We really love Eva. It's our favorite anime. At least it's mine. I know Sam's is technically Nadesco, right?
No. Like, okay, I'm explaining this to you again. Evangelion's like a god tier, so it's like not on my list. You know what I mean? It's 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's 11 out of 10. It goes up to 11.
It's 11 out of 10 for me. I love it. The rebuilds are also 11 out of 10 for me, but we'll talk about those later. But I mean,
don't make me angry, Sam.
I love it. I love it. The Netflix dub isn't that terrible to me.
Oh, we can talk on Netflix here a little bit.
I think I don't think it's that bad. I think Shinji kind of sounds bad.
Yeah, Shinji's a little bit like wispy. I get what they're going for. They're trying to emulate.
There were some literal translations that were happening, and I think people got upset about it.
There's a little bit of background to the Netflix script translation is Studio Kara, who owns Evangelion now. They got really upset with Funimation, how they handled the rebuild films.
You cannot redo.
Yeah, how they handled. I think
it was mostly
2.2.
It was mostly 2.2 and 3.3.
Yeah, so they got upset at like the audience reaction to it because there was some double entendres in the script, and perhaps they got a little too liberal with some of the translations. But ADV did a very good job, and I think they were involved with this script as well. But they did a good job localizing it for an English audience and making it flow well and make sense in English, and also sound good, right? So you have these iconic lines, right, where there's one in End of Evangelion where Shinji says, "I'm so fucked up," and that's a meme, right? Everyone knows that. There's another one where he's staring at in a hospital bed and he says, "Unfamiliar ceiling." That's iconic right there. You have "I mustn't run away." That's iconic. He's always saying that as his mantra. You got a bunch of stuff like that, and so Studio Kara got mad at the translation, so they took a really heavy-handed approach to the Netflix handling of this. And I'm assuming that's part of why we don't have the same dubcast, and we also have a very literal translation, which is technically correct, but it's not the best version of it, because you do need to localize between languages. You can't just do a direct translation, otherwise it won't make sense grammatically. Or like some, they'll say third children instead of third child. Not a huge deal, but it's, But really the big deal is they changed a couple of lines at the end with Kaoru and Shinji. There was one of the lines there. "You're worthy of my grace." That's like the change they made. It's like, come on. Because, "I love you," right? That means a lot in English, right? That can mean a lot. You can dig into that. It's not just there's value to having some ambiguity, right, in a word. And you don't need to make it exact, like an exact literal, like it only means one thing, right? That's why language is so cool. You can have these analyses and translations. So, the Netflix was basically forced to do this literal translation. I know the guy who translated it, he was getting some shit on social media. And it's like, dude, I don't even necessarily blame that guy. I don't necessarily blame the dub actors. They were just getting a paycheck, man. If it wasn't them, it'd be somebody else, right? It was the mechanism, the whole system that caused this. And, they're tools. They're like athletes, right? Voice actors are athletes. Transcribers are, well, they're a little more artistic, I guess, because they're kind of like writers, I guess. But I'm assuming he was, stuck in a corner. Like, he probably didn't have much say.
Right.
Maybe, but probably not. So, the Netflix translation it's fine. It's not bad, but if you want the best English translation, then you'll need to watch the ADV version of it. Unfortunately, that one's not an HD, animation, so it doesn't look quite as good, but it sounds better and the messages get across a little better.
Mm-hmm.
And again, how you mentioned the dubcast, I think the dubcast was actually pretty good for the Netflix, aside from I don't personally love Shinji as much, although some people say they don't like the Spike Spencer Shinji, so your mileage may vary.
I don't think he was that bad. Like, his voice sounded bad. I just like he sounded quiet.
Oh, the new one?
Yeah.
And I think it's voiced
Casey.
by it's like a voiced by a female or something, because in the Japanese it was voiced by a female for Shinji. But anyway, they don't emote as loudly as the old dub, and there's not quite that level of like passion and like zest of the old one. So but I mean, it's functional. It's fine. It's not terrible, right? It works. Yeah. It's just the main thing for me is the translations. If they would have just kept the same lines, then I wouldn't have had like much of a problem with it. But it's, for me personally, it's like how they changed some of the script, right?
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. It's not a 30
I agree
pack.
with that. No, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as like flipping your table over. You know what I mean?
The thing is, it's not the best possible version. That's what bothers me.
Sure,
You
yeah,
know.
it's because of what it is. It's like the property of. It's like what you're dubbing for is the issue.
These fucking meddling studios, just like let them
I
do a
would
good
have gotten
job.
away
I
with
don't
it
know.
too.
And it's probably partly.
Yeah.
It's probably everybody's fault. It's probably Funimation's fault too for getting too crazy with some of their stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe not, but that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
In any case, it's on Netflix. It's worth watching. It has the sub on there too.
I do want to mention, if you're going to go on Netflix, like obviously you probably are, there's 3 things for you to click on, okay? There's Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is a series. Then there's the end of Evangelion. It's hour 27 minutes. And then there's Evangelion Death True Squared. So the thing is in Japan, they got the last 2 episodes and they were titled differently. And that's basically the end of Evangelion.
Are those the director's cut episodes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Kinda,
okay.
yeah.
So I think that's like one way to watch it is you can watch the original series until episode like 24 or something, and then there's like director's cut. They're like 30-minute episodes.
Yeah. So then so basically though is here in America, the way we got it was we got in it at this time. ADV Films no longer had the dubbing rights. They for Death and Rebirth and End of Evangelion, Manga Entertainment got it. So what Death and Rebirth is it's the movie divided in 2 halves. The first half is like a quickly edited recap of the series, and then Rebirth is the first of the last 2 episodes, and then the End of Evangelion is Rebirth plus the ending. So you don't need to watch the thing on Netflix called Evangelion Death True Squared unless you want to watch a recap of the series. You don't have to.
I think
the way
the
it's
first
edited
part
is
of
actually
it's a recap, and then the other part is
no. It's
okay.
Evangelion Death True Squared is the total recap, and it's an hour. It's an hour long, and the way it's edited is really cool though, because the way Anno had it edited was kind of like he kind of made it like almost like as if it was the original last 2 episodes of the series. It's kind of cool in that aspect. Otherwise, I don't really think you need to watch it. I think you just need to watch Neon Genesis and then the end of, and then you're Gucci.
Yeah, and you can get away with the TV show, all 26 episodes, and then the movie. It's a simple watch order.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a retell recap edited kind of cool. But yeah, just in case that confused anyone, I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, dude, it's 10 out of 10.
Dude, 11 out of 10, man. Best anime of
11
all
out of 10.
time. The GOAT.
The GOAT.
And now people are going to
obviously.
have unrealistic expectations and they won't like it.
Yeah.
That's what sucks, though. Like, when you're really excited about something and you're like, man, this is the best thing ever. It's so great. You got to do it. And then people are just like, man, I'm going to dislike it just to spite you.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
used to do that. When I was younger, I used to do that to people. I used to be like, I don't like it because it's popular. It's like, I
Yeah.
don't do that now. People think I do that now because I joke about it, but I don't. Like, I love Evangelion. I know how popular Evangelion is, and I still love it. It's fucking amazing.
It's my best anime. Now, like we said again, you should watch it no matter what. You don't have to have it as your favorite. You don't have to give it a 10. But you should at least see, how big of an influence it was and how well it was made. That's it.
Definitely you should. Definitely you should. 100%. So let us know what you think of Evangelion. I know a lot of people in our server know that it's our favorite, and we've been joking for a long time about the quote-unquote the Ava episode. Here you go. Happy birthday. You're welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy Halloween. It's for you.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Ava episode. Yippee-ki-yay. I love it. So I definitely, if you have not seen it, please watch it. Please watch it. If you don't watch it for us here at Anime Summit, at least watch it for me. Just me.
If you don't watch it
I'm the
for us,
shit.
watch it for me.
Because I'm the shit. But no, I love it. I fucking love it. Let us know what you think. And if you have seen it, let us know what you think of it, and let us know your thoughts on the Netflix dub if you've watched the Netflix dub already too. Because I'm totally curious. Obviously, there's a bunch of reviews out already. People on Twitter are going ham everything
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
But
man,
I want to know what.
There's a lot of memes that are really funny.
Yeah, there are. I want to know what you guys think though, here in our Discord and in our Twitter and everything like that though. Okay, so hit us up at Anime Summit, and then hit us up on the Discord as well.
Shinji, I do a backflip every single day of my life. Oh, I think we retweeted that at one point. Or I liked the tweet. Maybe I didn't retweet it. God, so funny.
That being said, that's Neon Genesis Nick Evangelion.
Fraser, get in the robot, or Niles will have to do it again.
I've been Song, and this has been the Anime Summit podcast.